Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Let's have a look at today's daily challenge problem. Problem 1143, longest common subsequence. In this video, we are going to share a solution based on dynamic programming. So actually up to now, this kind of problem is very classic. So first, we are going to read through the problem statement to digest the requirement, and then we do a quick analysis, and finally we share the very routine code. During the writing of the codings, so we are going to write with some redundancy to make the idea clear. First, let's look at the problem statement. Given two strings, text1 and text2, return the length of their longest common subsequence. If there's no common subsequence, we're going to return 0, right? So here it explains what's a subsequence, right? So this is an example. ACE is a subsequence of A, B, C, D, E. So here are three examples. So actually in the first example, we can examine that ACE and the text2 actually is a subsequence of text1, so we return 3. So in example 2, so the two strings are identical, therefore we return their length, that is 3. So in example 3, the two strings ABC and DEF have nothing in common, therefore we return 0. So the constraints or additional assumptions for this problem are the following. First, the two strings are both non-empty, and their length is bounded above by 1000. So secondly, text1 and text2 consists of only lowercase English letters. So with that said, we are ready to do the analysis. So here I'm going to use DP for this solution. So for DP here, we're going to use a DP table, in other words, tabulation. So we're going to interpret dpij as the length of the longest subsequence or subsequences for text1 up to index I and text2 up to index G, right? So here the DP update rule for the generic case is very simple, right? So we're going to compare if text1I and text2G are equal or not. If not equal, right, so we should pick the maximal for dpi j minus 1 or dpi minus 1j if we use the DP interpretation above. So if the two are identical, then we're going to use this one, dpi minus 1 j minus 1 plus 1, because this one actually increment the length by 1. So this is the largest possible, right? So for example, so if you use this and do some proper initialization and then run through this DP procedure for example 1, so this is a DP table state. So we're going to return the bottom right element, that is 3. So here, before we write the code, let's make some extension or connection. So a closely related problem is to find the maximal length of a common substring given two strings. So this can be solved using similar idea with slightly adjustment on DP interpretation and DP update rules. So actually for this kind of problem, there is also a palindromic analogy. So in which case we require the common subsequence or common subarray to be palindrome, right? So that's that kind of problem can also be solved using dynamic programming. So actually it's good practice to try out those related problems. So here I'm going to write a DP solution, but here in order to make the idea clear, or for presentation purpose, I'm going to write with some redundancy. In other words, not the shortest code, but I believe the easier one to understand. Right. So first, I'm going to track the length. So let's see, text1 and text2. So this is a routine. So Then we're going to initialize the DP table, right? So here 0 times m, right? So because here it said that if there's no common subsequence, we're going to return 0. So we use 0 initialization. So here this corresponding to the column, right? So for a dummy index running from the length of the first one. So in other words, so this is the m by n grid or matrix. And then we want to do the DP initialization and DP update. So I'm going to first set down the first row and then the first column and then do the generic case. Actually, we can do a for loop for all these different cases, but let's separate them to make the logic clear. So first, set the first row. So for this, I'm going to iterate for j in range n, right? And then we're going to check if j equals 0. So this, we're going to check dp0j. Actually, this is nothing but a dp00, right? We want to check if text1 0 equals text2 j. Actually, this is also 0, right? Otherwise, so we're going to do this 0j. So it equals let's see. It equals 1 if text1 0 equals text2 j, right? So otherwise, so we're going to do it. It equals 0 j minus 1. So once we meet a 1, then all the following ones will be 1, right? So this is due to the DP interpretation. So with that said, let's look at setting the first column. So this is for I in range. So I'm going to start from 1 because this 0 0 is already set. So for 1 to m minus 1, and then so dp I naught equals 1 if text 1 I equals text 2 0. Else, so it's going to be dp I minus 1 0, right? So once we meet a 1, then all the following ones in the column will be 1s. So this way, up to now, we set the first row and we set the first column, and then we set the general case. Then this is the double for loop for range 1 to m for j in range 1 to n, right? Then, so we want to check if text1 I equals text2 j, right? If so, what we're going to do is that dpij equals max and dpi and j minus 1 and dpi minus 1 j. The right hand side j minus 1 and I minus 1 now are both greater than or equal to 0 because of the iteration range, and also because we have already set the first row and the first column. So this is one case. Another case is that if they are not the same, let's say this is not the same, and then if they are the same, so then we are going to do this, right? So not dp I minus 1 and j minus 1, then plus 1. So this way we finish the set of the dp update, and finally we just need to return dp negative 1 negative 1, or if you like, you write dp m minus 1 n minus 1. But here we know that each of the text is not empty, so this is also good. So with that said, I think we're ready to do the test. So yeah, it passes the first example, I guess. Now let's look at the generic case. Yeah, it passes all the generic cases. So I guess that's about it for this specific problem. As we mentioned, here we write with some sort of redundancy to make the idea clear. So actually for setting the first row and for setting the first column, And for the generic case, we can put the first two here into this double for block. But that's a trivial practice. But this way of writing, I guess, makes the idea naked or more clear. So with that said, I guess that's about it for this video. You are also welcome to check out the DP playlist in our channel or some other videos in our channel for coding practices and coding techniques. So with that said, I guess that's it. Thank you.